You know what? Certain films, I would hold out and say, you know what? I personally am not going to do this. If you try to get into a boy, I know people who say, you know what? I simply refuse to buy any of Hollywood's product to patronize these people in any way. I'm not going that far in saying that. I think that what we need is we need to, number one, be aware that this hypocrisy and this double standard exists, because you're absolutely right. Many of them do have bodyguards. You know, there was an open letter to the NRA that then they were called Handgun Control Incorporated. They've since changed their name to the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence, so that we wouldn't really see what their agenda is about. They did a full-page ad in USA Today. All these Hollywood stars signed it. One of the signatories was Madonna, and it was really hypocritical for her to sign it, because this was after her security shot an intruder on her estate. Another one who's against guns and said gun owners should be jailed is Rosie O'Donnell, and lo and behold, we find out she has armed bodyguards. And so I think that it's incumbent on us, when we know about this, to make this thing known so that people can understand it and realize it, and possibly get into the debate just some awareness on the part of the public. Because again, I saw some quotes about Stallone recently having to do with his movie that says, oh man, this guy's a real American. This guy's just what we need. And you know what? I have nothing against Stallone as a person, as an actor, as a writer. I think he's done some good work that I've enjoyed in my life. But when I see something like this, it is just such a turnoff to me. And so I just feel compelled to speak out about it and let people know that what you're seeing is oftentimes an illusion, and it does not reflect, you know, where the person is truly at.
I think you're right about that. As a matter of fact, the crew was just out at the Shoot for the Troops, and Sly's brother was there, and he actually participated, as I am told. I haven't seen the clip yet, but he was participating in that Shoot for the Troops, and did some reflect on the fact that he and his brother don't agree on everything, but there certainly is something to be said for what you are, the Hollywood bling, the celebrity bling. I'm disappointed somewhat in the hypocrisy, to use the word that you used. Although being this close to Hollywood, I know that Hollywood basically is built on a great deal of hypocrisy. And remember, it's an acting job. It's just another job to them, and they do what is required, and they spend many years training for it. Now, you made some reference towards Sly's new film, and we know that there's a host of stars in there, including the governor. And again, I think you're right, because it portrays a very pro-gun movie there. I mean, there's a lot of violence going on, and without the guns, there'd be no film at all. And I'm happy to see that film come out, actually. So it's kind of like two sides of the issue. Either you don't have film with guns in them, and you put all of us to sleep, or many of us anyway, or you have guns with films in them by actors who don't really have a personal feeling about guns, but in fact, they're just doing an acting job. So it's very difficult out here in Hollywood to nail someone on something unless they come forward, as you pointed out, with a statement that so conflicts with their role that is disappointing. You'd think that they wouldn't want that to be released, but on the other hand, you know, it's kind of like they're on this side, they're on that side. Depends upon what party they happen to be at that night or who they're talking to. I don't know that it has a lot of reflection on us as gun owners, only that I know there are some actors who we do not feel is very patriotic, and I think many of us boycott their films. But as far as boycotting the films of those like Sly and Arnold and all, you know, and Willis, I don't think any of us, no matter what, would probably boycott them. And I know you weren't suggesting that, but it's an interesting study in what goes on in Hollywood.
And there are other things that we can do. We can encourage more realistic portrayals of gun defenses in Hollywood, because I've read reports where writers are actually instructed how to make guns scarier to the audience and how to demonize them and how to demonize the people who have guns, and to try to swing things the other way around so that, possibly to create a market demand for more realistic portrayals of guns. One of the disappointing things, I saw a great movie by Steven Spielberg called Schindler's List. And I understand from sources I talked to that Spielberg is reported to have a rather large and expensive collection of firearms. And yet, at the end of the movie Schindler's List, it was changed from the ending of the book. In the book, the real Oskar Schindler actually got some arms and armed some of the Jewish prisoners that were in his factory. And that was one of the reasons why the Nazis did not come back and finish them off and destroy the evidence. And yet this was not included in Schindler's List. And I would think particularly for a man like Mr. Spielberg, who obviously, believed in that project very much, that would be a lesson that he would want to impart to audiences. And just different things like that, James. I don't think that there's any one suggestion or one cure-all or one anything like that. What I'm suggesting is awareness never hurts, because that gives us more options and more opportunities to make informed decisions.
Now, it's very political in Hollywood. I mean, extremely political. And even during these times, there's a lot of actors out there who would probably do anything for a job. So again, I think I'm going to scratch the whole thing up, David, to let us not forget that these people are just people. And in fact, their job is to act. So when a role comes along, even though they may not necessarily be personally positive or negative on it, hey, it's a job. So I think they do what they do, and holding it against them, unless they come out and make some really anti-gun statements, and then, hey, it's a job.
And those are the ones who are making the anti-gun statements are the ones that I try to focus on to illustrate the disconnect between what they say in real life and what they profit from in their professional life. So that's basically where I'm coming from.
Right. Okay, well, David, it's an interesting report. Well, I'm sure there'll be more stories out of Hollywood, and I'm sure that we'll probably both get some emails about, hey, I heard that, or I actually saw this, or I think we'll probably get some response on this. Certainly out there, if you have some information one way or another, we'd be pleased to look at it. And I know that David would as well. Is that what you got for us this week, David?
One more very quick one.
All right.
This one I just learned about. I want the viewers to go to www.nssfblog, National Shooting Sports Foundation, nssfblog.com, and there is a move proposed by the EPA to ban lead ammunition. Okay, so I wanted to get that out there. If you go to that site, they'll basically tell you what to do and who to contact, because they are taking public comment. So I just got that, and I wanted to make sure I got that in before you let me go today.
Yeah, actually, again, that lead thing started out here in California, and as I've said many, many times, and you've heard me say, the things that do start here have a tendency to go east. And
thing is, the people behind it in California was the National Resources Defense Council, and guess who's on their board of trustees? Robert Redford and Leonardo DiCaprio. So Hollywood, okay?
There you go again, David.
Yes, sir.
Hey, we'll see you next week. Thanks, David.
Thanks, James. See you.
Okay, bye-bye.